So if you have the kind of relationship where you really can bring anything up and it's comfortable and you can laugh about things, that will go a huge long way in your communication to help you stay together.
This is The Christian Author. With every episode, we hope to introduce you to relevant Christian authors and their works. It's a great way to supplement your daily Bible reading and study, as God uses the wisdom, experiences, and writing ability of these authors to enhance your life and others in your walk with Christ.
Arlene Pellicane is a speaker. She's host of the Happy Home podcast, also author of several books, including Parents Rising, Screen Kids, which she co-authored with Dr. Gary Chapman, and the book we're going to talk about today, Making Marriage Easier. Well, what prompted you to write this particular book?
Yeah, as you look around, a lot of people are struggling with their marriages. Oh, it's so hard. I'm not connecting with my spouse anymore. I might love them, but I don't like them so much today. So I'm hearing these kinds of things, both inside and outside of the church. And I look back when my husband and I hit the 25-year mark, which was when I was writing the book. I thought to myself, you know what? Actually, which made me kind of to do the book in the first place, right? We made the 25 years. I'm looking back thinking, okay, we're not superhuman. We're not perfect, but this has been good. Like, this whole marriage thing has been good. So I wanted to reverse engineer that. Like, what did we do? Like, what were decisions we made? What made this good? What made it easier for us? And so that's kind of what turned into Making Marriage Easier, how to love and like your spouse for life, a desire to help other couples, to encourage them so that they could not just have an okay marriage, but really have a good marriage.
The book is called Making Marriage Easier. Are some of us making marriage too hard?
I think we could be, yes, because it's not making marriage easy. Like, we get it. There's effort that's involved, but how can we make this easier? We might make it hard by not becoming a good listener, so we're missing a lot of things that our spouse is doing. We might make it hard by just not scheduling a date night, once a month to spend time together. We might be making it hard because we're putting all the energy into the kids, 110% into the kids, and like 5% reserves for the spouse, and that's it. So there are a lot of ways that we make it a bit harder than it needs to be.
Let's talk about some of the meat of what you have in your book, 4 key marriage decisions that make marriage easier. Let's get going on those if you don't mind.
Yeah, and these are decisions. They're not feelings. So we don't just think like, oh, we feel like doing this today. No. Go back to, this is what I've decided, and I'm going to do it. Decision number 1 is play by the rules. Just like in a game, if the goals kept moving, the boundaries kept moving, that would be very frustrating. So have rules to your marriage, things that are from the Word of God. We're going to follow the Word of God. We're going to have rules, like maybe your rule is that you don't yell at each other. One of ours is the power hour of having a meal together every day as a regular rhythm so that we're spending time together. So play by the rules. The second decision is to give thanks every day. That when you were married, you were very thankful for your spouse, but you get a couple years in and you're more grumbling, right? Complaining about your spouse. So turn that back into gratitude. Be grateful for what you have, who you have. The third decision is to serve your spouse. And this one, right, can be very popular, ha, ha, ha. But this idea is, don't go into your marriage thinking, what are you going to do for me today? But instead think, hey, what can I do for you today? Because that whole attitude of, I'm here to help you and support you, versus, what are you going to do for me? Like, I don't see you doing anything for me lately. That's going to get you in trouble. But when you come in to say, hey, how can I bless you today? How can I be there for you today? That changes the way your home feels. So serve your spouse. And the last decision number 4, is to take fun seriously. So don't just think, well, fun's what we'll do when we retire or when we have more money or when the kids are grown. No. Have fun regularly together, because fun is what brought you together, and it's what also helps you stay together and enjoy one another.
You said something about kids and also something about retirement. Marriage can kind of go in stages, can it?
Yes, for sure. Mike, I have 2 kids in college now and 1 in high school, and they're all these different stages. So in some stages, you are all in the thick of the parenting years, and in that stage, you have to still tend to the marriage. You have to look at your 7-year-old and think to yourself, someday you're going to be my extended family. Like, someday you're going to be grown and out of this house, even though it seems impossible at the moment. And so I better pay attention to my spouse. And then when you get to the empty nest years, you want to still have that close relationship with your spouse. So you don't just only have the shock of the new season of not having kids in the home. You don't want to add to that, like, oh my goodness, I'm living with a stranger. I'm living with a roommate. Like, I'm not close to my spouse anymore. So you really need to have that long view to think, wait a minute, how can I do it so that when I hit these different seasons in my life, whether they're, health issues, financial issues, transition, you move to another location, all of those changes, that your spouse will be a constant and that your relationship will be really strong, not weak during those times.
Arlene Pellicane is our guest, and there are a lot of people, I think, who are kind of surprised to find that marriage kind of pushes them out of their comfort zone. But should we really embrace that discomfort a little bit?
We love comfort. We go from the hot to air conditioning. We go from the cold to our heated seats. So we love to be comfortable. But in marriage, there's another person there that has different likes, that has different opinions, and that can be uncomfortable. But what it does is it helps us to grow. I'm a rules keeper. My husband's more of a free spirit. So he'll be like, hey, let's do this. And I'll think, I don't think we're supposed to. When we were first married, we were newlyweds in Dallas. We were in the Arboretum, beautiful. We had to pay the ticket, walked around for an hour and a half. And he looked and he said, look, here's our car. It was over the fence. He could see it. He said, let's jump the fence and go to our car instead of walking another, half an hour to get to the exit to get out. And I thought to myself, why in the world would I ever jump a fence to get out of anything? And how do they know that I'm not jumping in to not pay the ticket? But before I knew it, I found one leg on the Arboretum, one leg to the parking lot side, and I was in tears. I was embarrassed. People were starting to come up. I felt scared, and I couldn't believe my newlywed husband put me up there. He couldn't believe that his tall wife couldn't clear a fence. We both were like in disbelief. But marriage can feel like that. One leg in the old and one leg going to the new, and it's uncomfortable, but it is what puts the adventure in life. It's what helps us mature as people because we have to adapt to one another, prefer one another, expand, become a better listener, all these things. So we're growing emotionally, we're growing spiritually. And so welcome when you are uncomfortable, instead of thinking, oh no, I got to get back to my comfort zone. Think, okay, this is my opportunity to jump the fence and to grow a little bit. And just that attitude change is helpful.
Making Marriage Easier is the name of the book. And that sounds like that situation might have been something that made your marriage a little bit more vibrant. What advice do you have for keeping a marriage vibrant and really not just having a spouse who's a roommate?
This is something we settle into, right? We live together. We get into our routines. We get home from work. We put our keys in a certain place. We grab our things. We start watching the news, whatever it is, and we go to these little corners, and then we do that day after day after day, and we think, hey, we're just like roommates, right? What happened to us? So do things that roommates don't do. So you might hold hands, you go to the car, you might open your car door for your wife again, you're going to the grocery store, you hold hands, treat each other like in a way that roommates don't. So that looks like physical affection, that looks like really deep conversation. So make a space in your life, whether it's over dinner time or a little walk over dinner or a monthly date where you're able to really listen to each other and go into it like, I really want to be curious about my spouse and listen to them. And if you go in like that, that's going to be a good, warm conversation. And now you're starting to feel like, oh, we're not roommates. We're actually connecting. So a kiss at the door, a kiss when you leave. Roommates don't do this. So kind of keep thinking, how can I do something that roommates don't do? And if you do that for 31 days, you probably will feel much more like, oh, the romance and the love is coming back into the home.
We've heard for so long that communication is so key to a successful marriage. What does that mean, communication?
Yes, it is a safety of you can say anything to me. It if you say something to your spouse and they instantly become defensive, like, well, oh, if you did this, So my husband, when we were dating, he said to me, I have something to say, but I'm not sure how to say it. And I thought, oh, goodness, I hope it's not the proposal. I hope this is not how this is going to go. But he said to me, Arlene, you have these hairs on your upper lip. Have you ever thought about electrolysis? Can you believe he said that to me? So I instantly was like, oh, look at the time, gotta go. And I went to the mirror and I saw those little hairs that I'd seen for all my life. And all of a sudden I felt like Groucho Marx with this big mustache. I thought, oh my word, I gotta do something. So I went, I had electrolysis, a laser, and got those hairs off. And what it showed James was, wow, I can tell her stuff because his point of view was, wait, I'm thinking about like marrying this girl. And if you get married, like you have to talk about really hard things, like where are we going to live? What job are we going to take? Should we have children? Like these are big issues. And he thought to himself, if I cannot mention the hair on her lip, like then I can't say any, right? It was very important that he knew I really can't say anything. And so for me, it was, and obviously he said it in a very like sheepish way. You know, he wasn't all like mean about it. So presentation is important in communication. How do you say the hard things? So work on saying the hard things in a gentle, humble way, and then work on receiving the hard things in an open way. Like, I'm willing to listen to you. Let me see if there's any truth in this. Let me see if there's any way I can respond to this in kind. And if you have that kind of communication style, then things aren't left unsaid, because it's the unsaid stuff that gets us into trouble, that grows and grows and grows and becomes bitterness and disappointment. So if you have the kind of relationship where you really can bring anything up and it's comfortable and you can laugh about things, that will go a huge, long way in your communication to help you stay together.
Arlene Pellicane is our guest, and Making Marriage Easier is the name of the book. You were talking about the 4 key marriage decisions, and one of those was serving your spouse, but some people may kind of equate that with sacrificing your own well-being. Kind of clarify that distinction if you could.
So we live in a place where it's like, you don't have to serve anyone. Be true to yourself. Don't let anyone squash your ambition, identity, all these things. So obviously we're not talking about any kind of abuse. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the idea that you are there to bless your spouse, to support your spouse, to serve your spouse, to think of the well-being of your spouse. Jesus came as what? A servant. He's the Son of God, and he comes as a servant. And that didn't mean he left his identity, right? Like, his service was part of his identity. So when I serve, I'm not saying no to Arlene. I'm not no, this is part of who I am, is that I want to be more like Christ. And Christ looks at others and he esteems us as better than himself, and he sacrifices. So he does do things because he's doing it out of love for people. So really in a marriage, when you are serving and sacrificing, maybe you are on a small scale picking a dinner location that your spouse likes and that's not your favorite, right? And on a large scale, you're moving to a new city because of your spouse's job and you're leaving friends behind. Whatever you're doing, you are doing this with an attitude of like, I want to bless you in our marriage. God, I want to serve you, and one way to serve you is through loving my spouse. So go through it not saying, what are you going to do for me today? Right? Because that's going to lead to disappointment because they didn't do all the things you wanted. But if you go into the day, hey, what can I do for you today? Now all of a sudden you're proactive. You have the power and you can decide what you're going to do for your spouse. And believe me, at the end of the day, you won't lose your identity. You'll find it and you'll be like, wow, I'm a really likable person because I'm very helpful.
We often hear that money is frequently an issue that generates friction. Do you find that to be true? And what are a couple of pointers with regards to money to, I guess, make your marriage easier?
I think one is just to realize if you have more things and you get that house or you get all those things, most likely if you're already at the point where you have shelter and you have food, those extra things aren't going to matter a whole lot. So you got the big house, you got the boat, you got the pretty clothes, whatever it is, that's going to have a short-term hit like, yay, but then it's just going to be stuff and it won't mean that much to you. So don't prioritize that money, like getting after the money, because your time with your spouse is more important. Like, it'd be more important to have less but have more time together versus, I'm working 80 hours a week so we can have this beautiful house. So just ask the Lord your priorities, that the money doesn't necessarily, it's not going to buy that happiness you're seeking for. So not to look for that happiness through having more things. Kind of the less things you have, the less you have to take care of. So you do have this more of a minimalistic thing returning of like, I don't want to take care of all this stuff. And then, recognize, make it okay to talk about money, like make it so that it's not a taboo subject. You can talk about it. Most likely if you're having trouble, maybe one of you is a saver, one of you is a spender, and it's usually not about the money. It's about like whatever's underneath it. So maybe you're striving for it because you're thinking, if I have this money, then it validates me. So there's something underneath that to address and to talk about. But the more you can get on the same page, the better. Like my husband and I, early in our marriage, we attended Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, and it gave us like the same thoughts just to be able to get on the same page. So whether you're reading a book together, listening to a financial podcast, if you need help, it's good. Get extra help and get on the same page together.
Making Marriage Easier is the name of the book. You've been married for, 25 plus years. What was the biggest thing that surprised you when you first got married?
Oh, that's funny. I think it is that my husband is such a free spirit. And like a great example is when we were first married in our condo, we would ride our bikes, and it was near a development where they were developing houses. And so it'd have a big sign on it, like no trespassing. But all it is dirt, because they're going to build houses on it. It's no trespassing. So I would never do that because it says no trespassing. But it's also, you're my husband, and he's like, follow me, like get behind me, we're going. So it's like, okay. And we had a lot of fun many months before those houses went up of riding back there. So I think the surprise to me was the adventures that we've gone on and things I would have never done. I remember a day where it was muddy and our whole bikes were just covered in mud, and there's just no way that me by myself, I would never find myself in a position behind a no trespassing sign covered in mud. But these things are very fun. So he has pushed me to try new things. Truly, overall, it's been a good thing.
Yeah. What is one thing that you would say exclusively to men about marriage?
Okay, this is good. I would say, I'm going to do it two ways. So for the women, it's saying to the men, the men want to love you, but they don't know how. You just have to be more specific. They're not a mind reader. And then for the man, then it's ask your wife, honey, I want to be a better husband for you. I want to make life easier for you. Will you tell me one specific thing I can do today to make your life easier? Okay, so men, seek that out from your spouse and let them know, I want to know specifically what to do. Don't just say, love me more, blah, blah, blah. Make it specific, because the man is waiting. He wants to, but he just doesn't know what to do. So then the wife might say, oh, I really get so stressed over dinner. Do you think you could pick something up on the way home? Or, oh, I'd love it if you just hug me in the morning and hug me in the evening and tell me everything's going to be all right. Then all of a sudden, the man knows, oh, I know what to do, and that's doable. So for you men, ask your wife, what specifically can I do? What's an actionable thing I can do to bless you? And then do it.
Yeah.
Even if it's really hard, do it. She might say, I really want you to read this book. And you're like, oh, man. And, whether it's my book or somebody else's book, I hate to read, but you're going to, okay, I'll do it. So be willing to take that extra time to show her that you love her.
Should we acknowledge from the outset that over time we're going to change and our spouse is going to change some ways too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think essentially so far, in the 26 years I've been married, all the core things are the same, about my husband. But you do, you're learning new things. There are different seasons. And I think a commitment to grow together, to both have that mindset of we're both going to keep growing. Like we're not just going to, I remember some people will look at a book like mine, Making Marriage Easier, and they've been married 50 years, and they say, oh, I'm going to pick this up. There's something always new to learn. And then another couple will come, oh, we've been married for 50 years. If we don't know it by now, we're not going to know it, So be like that first couple that's like, oh, I want to keep learning. So even though your spouse is changing, even though you go through all these different years of having babies and empty nest and taking care of your aging parents, of having a lot of money, having a little money, being super busy, being retired and bored, like whatever it is, like all these seasons, that you would say to yourself, we are going to grow together. We're going to stay curious about each other. And as we grow older and we change and we adapt and all these things, it'll make us closer together, not further apart.
Again, the book is called Making Marriage Easier. You've got the podcast called Happy Home. How do you like doing podcasts?
I love podcasting. So whether you listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, the Happy Home podcast, I get to talk to people like Dr. Gary Chapman, Justin Whitman, Whitmo Early. Like, it's just been so much fun. And every week, a new episode about marriage or parenting.
Arlene Pellicane has been our guest, Making Marriage Easier. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, the name of the book is Making Marriage Easier. Arlene Pellicane, our guest. Chris Michael, hope you enjoyed it on this episode of The Christian Author.